Hello everyone. And today I'm talking about a client. I recently worked with a wonderful client in America, and she had been working with me on a couple of other things. She was in my healing circle for something, and then she asked me for to help her dad who has a chronic cough. And I suppose because I was sort of top of her mind when this thing happened that I'm going to tell you about, she thought of me and she asked me for help. So and this really resonated with me because being a woman, and she's a woman, and her problem was menstrual flow, absolutely drenching, outpouring so much blood, menstrual flow. And I just thought, I think this is something that a lot of women struggle with. I think a lot of women have this issue. And, maybe you're one of them. Maybe you're one of the people who's horrified by the menstrual blues or overwhelmed by the amount of blood or what looks like your lifeblood bleeding away. Or maybe your partner gets very anxious. And I know that there is help out there. I know that she was on medication, which, to be honest, wasn't working for her, which is why she contacted me. So she's been working with her doctor on this. But I do think, there's always hope with when you have a chronic condition or something that just keeps on happening. Maybe think about another alternative that you could have a look at. And this is the other alternative, or this is one of the alternatives. I'm sure there's others. So anyway, she reached out with an email and she said, I have my period and I'm bleeding profusely to the point of passing out. I'm taking medication to reduce the bleeding, but it's not helping. I had a procedure done in March, so we're now in July. I had a procedure done in March to cut off blood supply to two large uterine fibroids, but it did not take, so I'm in the process of having it redone in August. So in limbo, waiting for the procedure. She then goes on to say, this has been going on for over a year now, and I had to get an iron infusion twice this year because my blood and iron levels dip too low after each period, as they are so heavy and they last for 7 to 10 days. And then she apologized for reaching out and she said, I'm trying to stay out of the hospital and getting another blood transfusion. Now, I mean, that's chronic. I think that I would really hope that anyone watching this doesn't have such an extreme situation. I mean, when I read this, I thought, wow, she really needs help. And I did have some fear and doubt. Every time someone comes to me with a new issue, I think, oh, can I do this? Can I help? Can I help? But you never know till you try. So I said to her, I'll try. I'll do my best to help you. And let's see where this takes us. So we met on Zoom for her session. And, she to be honest, she didn't look good at all. The night before, so she caught me up on the Zoom session and she said, the night before, she had not slept very well because she went to sleep and then she woke up 2 hours later and her bedding was drenched. She'd laid on a towel. The towel was drenched. Her pajamas were drenched. Everything was drenched. And, and she looked exhausted. She had like these dark circles under her eyes. She really didn't look well at all. And she was very tired. She wanted to be with me for the session, but she was very tired and she was kind of sitting there or maybe lying in her bed. I can't remember, but just looking really exhausted. So I thought, okay, I'd love to try this. Let's see what happens. And I was a bit anxious, as I say. Now, I haven't got all of her report here. I've just got her one report. Now, we did one session. And at the end of her session, her higher self judged this as a 4 out of 10. At the beginning of her session, her higher self said it was an 8 out of 10. And her conscious self rated it as a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. 10 being the worst it can be. Okay, so we got it down at the end of one session to 4 out of 10. To be honest, I would recommend she has another one, but she was so happy with the result that I don't know if she'll have another one or not, but the point is she had a fabulous result. And, she's obviously feeling able to move on right now without having another recession immediately. So in terms of the healing report, now this fascinated me because I'm not a medical intuitive. Someone asked me the other day, are you a medical intuitive? And I said, I don't think so. But I think because I'm psychic, I get guided and directed. Now, I do work off charts. This doesn't just come to me. Some things do come to me. But this particular session, I worked off charts. And I was directed to her anterior tibial artery on the left-hand side, There was another imbalance to her great saphenous vein on both sides. There was an imbalance on her femoral artery on the left-hand side. These imbalances were all supported by imbalances in abdominal vessels, in other words, circulatory system imbalances. So think about this as a whole layers, sedimentary rock laying down fossils, if you like. And so the top things were kind of her anterior tibial artery, and there were all these other things feeding into that imbalance and supporting that imbalance. Now, when I saw the illustration of where these arteries and veins and vessels were on my charts, I thought, oh, I'm in the wrong place. But, I always have faith and trust that I'm guided for a reason. I'm guided to this particular spot. I believe completely that I am being guided. I am being given this information. I'm channeling this information. So I went with it, and with faith and trust, I cleared and released everything that was all of these things that came up. Then she had a physical disconnection in her uterus. Now, essentially what that means is that her uterus wasn't speaking to itself. There was a part of her uterus that was feeling out of alignment and out of balance and disconnected from the rest of her uterus. And the connection in her uterus, within her uterus, was at 65%. So I released whatever was at the root of and causing the disconnection. I set the intention to bring the connection back to 100%. Which is what it said it was doing. Then up came another misalignment imbalance in the femoral artery on the left-hand side, supported by an imbalance in her abdominal muscles abdominal vessels, again. Then there was another imbalance and misalignment in the uterus, and there was an imbalance and a misalignment in the fallopian tubes, left and right, both of them. So there were lots and lots of imbalances here. There were also trapped emotions, like she had humiliation at age 15 to 16 sitting in her reproductive system. She had other trapped emotions sitting in all her tissues and her organs. So we released and balanced all of that. We released all of that and brought it back. I brought it back as close as I could to a place of normality. So I did the session and asked then her higher self how bad the perception was of her bleeding. And as I said earlier, it was a 4 out of 10, dropping from an 8 at the beginning. So I felt really happy and excited about that. I was really chuffed. I thought, thank you, God. This is amazing. But the truth of the pudding is always in the eating. And I always, I work with people, and I always have faith and trust that I'm doing the best I can, and I have hope for the best outcome. But you never know until the feedback comes back as to what the result has been. So my perception is that was successful because her higher self told me it was successful, but her conscious self needed to feel the same way. So after about 3 days, she sent me an email. I sent her an email saying, well, how are you? What's happening? I was dying to know, has this helped? Because it seemed such an extreme situation. It seemed like such a big deal. I really wanted this to help her. So after 3 days, she replied to me and she said, well, I wanted to wait a few days to see how it would all unfold. And I was, I thought that's okay, because the first time I worked with her in my healing circle, I worked with her pelvic floor. There was something happening in her pelvic floor. And she emailed me after about 4 or 5 days, and she said the same thing. She said, I wanted to wait and see whether it would work, because it's almost like when people have a result, they almost can't believe it. It's like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. Maybe it's just a flash in the pan. Maybe it's just my imagination. Anyway, so that's why she waited for a few days. And she said, I'm pleasantly surprised with how much the bleeding has reduced. This is a vast improvement compared to the last 4 months. Thank you so much. I look forward to continuing with this work. So I was really chuffed. I was thrilled. Honestly, to say I was delighted is an understatement. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. So I just thought, this is what I love doing. I love working with issues that doctors find challenging. I believe completely that energy healing can support Western medicine. I wouldn't ever recommend that you don't do Western medicine or Eastern medicine. But it's wonderful to be able to do this work and to know that whatever is happening in this work is guided. It's completely intuitive. You know, there's no logic here. There's no rationale here. Who knows what's going on? But there's amazing things that are happening. And her body responded so positively to this. So I would say to you, if you have menstrual issues, or if you have pelvic floor issues, or bladder, I mean, I talk about urinary tract infections and, the sneeze and the cough, wetting yourself. I've helped so many women with those kind of things. I would love for you to be the next woman I help. And, if this resonates with you, please reach out to me. I write blogs about all my success stories. I've got loads, and I've got, I don't know, 20 or 30 blogs on my website, which is www.jenedwards.com. Jen with a G, because my name is Genevieve. And I'd love for you to go and have a nosy around and see if there's anything that resonates with you. And yeah, please contact me. If you're one of these women who has this dreadful menstrual flow issue, please contact me. Maybe I can help you. You never know till you try. So lots of love. I'm signing off now. And yeah, thanks for listening.